the Bishop of the Reina Diocese and the President of the Catholic Bishops' Conference of Papua New Guinea and Solomon Islands. We have Bishop Otto Separy. Please make welcome Most Reverend Bishop Otto Separy. And we have the 10th speaker, who is the General Secretary of the Catholic Bishops' Conference of Papua New Guinea and Solomon Islands, Reverend Father Lawrence Arockiaraj. We are here because of a very important press conference, and this is to do with the position of the Catholic Church on the constitutional amendments. And we'll be able to hear from what please. So without further delay, let's give the floor to Mr. Paul Harricken.
Good morning, everyone. I'm we would have Bishop first to the first speaker, given the background to the issue of Christian state amendment. I will be the first speaker to accept that to which this amendment has come about, as well as what the church position was now. It is, let me start by saying that the bill that was passed on 30 March, before vote in Parliament, and it is not a small amendment, because it may be made to believe people. But it is important that our people understand what this amendment is all about and what it means for us as church. We have seen that it is a major amendment to change the state from a secular state to a confessive state, a religious state. So, in that respect, it is a very serious amendment. Now, the first thing I want to bring to our attention is the process that took place to come about to bring about this amendment. There are two processes that, if you like, can personally state for me personally, as I was involved in the process. First one is the consultation process, and is until it is amended. So we question the 80% yes in the consultation, and we question it. And on top of that, the churches, especially the Catholic Church, I don't know what I mean, the church is not consulted formally. And yet, the churches are the custodians of faith. The churches were used consultation, open consultation, only for people to give their views. But yet, you don't just go and talk to a common person in the state, or you don't just go to talk to somebody who is not schooled, who is not educated in the medical faith. You can still do that, but yet you must consult the churches. The Catholic Church was not consulted formally. We took our own initiative to write to the Constitutional Law Commission our views about the proposed amendments. So that's why we feel the consultation is not properly done. And we also took the initiative to appear before the Parliamentary Committee on the 5th of May. The church turned up with Admiral Sir John and Bishop Otto as the CBC president. We all turned up before the Peter Ipada's Parliamentary Committee hearing. So for the church, we went. And then we were accompanied by Chief Dr. John Momis and Sir John Kaputu. They appeared in their own names, because they are the surviving constitutional fathers. They will inform the Constitutional Planning Committee that brought about the Constitution, that moved the country for over 3 years around the country to consult on what kind of country, what kind of constitution we should have for our country. And these two surviving constitutional fathers were not consulted. We realized that they were not consulted, and yet they were here. In Brisbane. Momis was here, Kaputu was in Brisbane. They consulted. They are the constitutional fathers. So we, the church, took the initiative to invite them. And we asked them to come and give their views for the committee, Parliament Committee. And we did more it on the 5th of May, 2024, last week. And the other question on the process is that we do not know whether that parliamentary hearing report was presented at all to the parliamentarians when they debated and voted. I don't know, and I don't know if anybody else knows. So we question the transparency of such a process. So we feel that the process was flawed. We feel that the process was not transparent. And even on the floor of Parliament, there was no such thing as consent vote. All MPs, usually as they do with many other bills, they are given bills, whether they read, they understand, that they all go in there to vote, following their party lines, following the government purpose, always proposing. That's the nature of Parliament. And we didn't get quality debates in Parliament. There was no quality debates. The only voice that we had stood out was this is Governor Reverend. We didn't get any quality debate. So on what basis did the MPs vote? Was it on party lines? Fear of losing their perks and privileges? We thought they should have exercised conscience vote. There was no meeting. I'm aware of some of the government MPs who abstained from voting. Abstained from voting in terms of numbers is as good as not voting. But they abstained because they felt that it was not, because they were in government, they didn't want to be seen as voting against. So the best option they took was to abstain from voting. So that's what went down, how it went down in Parliament of this course. I think the first two votes couldn't master the numbers. And just the last vote on the 30th of March, able to master the numbers. So as far as the process is, it was transparent, it was flawed, we feel there's no other process. Now, we come to the text of the amendments. We only amendments that we saw and that we we wrote about, and most of you would have received one of these. So that gives you the summary of the Catholic Church position that we presented to the CLRC and to the government of our position on the bill. It's a summary on both sides. But for today's conference, let me give you a summary of what we see and what I see personally. The amendment is totally unnecessary. Totally and absolutely unnecessary. The Christian principles are already in the piano, the use of those and gravity principles, and the human rights policies of the Constitution, including Section 25, instance of religion. Now, it is not necessary because you cannot, the Constitution is a legal and a political document. It is not a theological document. It is a Constitution. It is a legal and political document. So anything about the Christian principles is already covered in the political language. It's written in political language. Read out the emblem and the national laws and radical principles. Everything about God that we believe is already written, but it's expressed in a political language. When you start playing around with language and start bringing in theology, Bible language, it doesn't become a political document. It becomes a religious document. That's a big difference in that. And you realize that our constitutional fathers expressed the people's moral, Christian, political beliefs, philosophies, and views in the political language as was necessary. To have it written otherwise is tantamount to theocracy and not democracy. Now, it is also undemocratic. Freedom of conscience, thought, and religion is an inherent right of every person. Every human person is endowed with free will and intellect. The founding fathers recognized this when the relevant provisions of Section 45 on the conscience of thought and religion were written. The freedom begins with in the book of Genesis. For us Christians, when God created man and woman, God gave them as human beings of whom we. Any changes against this freedom would be ungodly, unchristian, and undemocratic. It is also unconstitutional. It's unconstitutional. The reform provisions already preach Section 45 and the whole intent, purpose, and spirit of the Constitution for a free and democratic people and country. PNG, under the Constitution as it was, the founding fathers intended it to be a secular state. Separating politics and civil government from religion and church. That was the intent. It took them more than 3 years for salvation. And who would argue now that they made a mistake, that was correct? They didn't make the mistake. They intentionally preferred Papua New Guinea to be a secular state. All matters of secular, temporal matters belongs to the state. All matters of religion, faith belongs to the churches. That was the intent of the founding party. The amendment changes the nature of the state to what we call a confessional state. They call it a religious state. From a democracy to what can be a theocracy. Most confessional states in some parts of the world, particularly in Europe and definitely in England, which once tried such confessional states. Now, some of those, what we have is we have the Jew state, which is a kind of a confessional state, and the Jew, Judaism, and we have Muslims and the Islamic, and we have England and the Anglican, which the king now is the head of the church. Those are the confessional states. But still, you find that the extreme ones are Judaism and Muslims. Now, PNG wants to maybe try out confessional states. Faith and religious practice in a democracy is lived and practiced, not legislated, and not coerced by the force of law. Such will be inconsistent with the fundamental tenet of democracy itself. Even the placing of King James Bible in the people's house, the national ceremony, by the same people who are pursuing this reform, is unconstitutional. For the fact that that's the people's house. That's the people's house. Meaning, you can be a Christian, you can be a non-Christian, you can be a Catholic, you can be a non-Catholic, even you can be a person with no faith. That's your house. And how go over that? You don't know you want a Christian as well. So it is a mistake, and it is unconstitutional to have the King James Bible. Because definitely the King James Bible is not a Bible of unity. You all know that. The Catholic Church and some others, I don't know, we don't use the King James Bible. So what makes you think that the King James Bible is an instrument of unity, that you can have it in the people's house, that belongs to everybody? That's another mistake from these people who propose to be amendments. Now, that's why you see that the changes we now have are not simple cosmetic presence instead of just a level of a Christian state. It is indeed an overhaul of the system. Being a Christian state is not the same thing as being secular state. The state is about the three arms of government: parliament, executive, and the judiciary. Christianity is now made the religion of the state, which was rejected by the founding fathers. Christianity, by this amendment, is the state religion. As far as the Catholic Church is concerned, the reform is a major disruption to harmonious religious beliefs, practices, and coexistence of various religions and even Christian denominations in the country. This can become a cause of division. This unity. The reforms can lead to religious fundamentalism and fanaticism. It can happen in any religion, Islam or Christian, which can lead to intolerance conflict and violence. I quickly take you to the background of this amendment, and you will appreciate. So I want the people of Papua New Guinea to appreciate why the Catholic Church said no to Christian state, but we say yes to Christian people. It was back in 2007. The reforms were pushed through what I personally, professionally, for the Catholic Church, I've been following this reform change. It's been pushed through with lies, fear mongering, and false beliefs and campaigns against some of the changes. The reason, even as far as at the Parliament hearing, it was submitted that for crisis approved same-sex marriage, which are total lie. They used that lie, and they used that submission to say that this is why we have amendment to make it Christian. So that we cannot allow any church like the Catholic Church to promote same-sex marriage. Catholic Church is not approved. It does not allow same-sex marriage. Totally. I mentioned the Teacher's Bible. They claim to be the quality of Bible, so it is appropriate that the owner's Bible should be tested out. When there are other Bibles, this Teacher's Bible gets and even Bible, the one here. On the Bible alone for free to bring unity. I also place on record, because I work closely with friendship Separy. He was misled into signing a so-called new covenant with the state of Israel on 26th of 2007. That date is now declared a public holiday every year. 26th August is a public holiday because that's the date when Separy signed a one-page document pledging PNG to the Court of Abraham Isaac and Jacob. Not in a government house, not in any civil office, in the coming church. And it was done through the Holy Government. PNG's Bible was literally carried into the country from USA in 2015, on the eve of PNG's 40 years of independence. And when PNG's first LNG shipment was made to Japan, with a jubilation akin to PNG crossing over to the land of milk and honey after 40 years in the wilderness. When Chief Separy was invited for a ceremony at the Parliament House to act Moses to formally hand over the King James Bible to the leadership of only as Joshua. And by then Separy knew about it and he never turned up. But they did the ceremony themselves to usher the King James Bible in the chambers of Parliament. The Parliament House under the then Speaker late Theodore Surono was already demolishing the artifacts considered as idolatry. And its proponents, they divide idolatry in two ways: a soft idolatry and a hard idolatry. All the carvings are considered hard idolatry. All money, anything with money, they are considered soft idolatry. We have to ask them to explain what they do. So the destruction was only stopped by a national court injunction taken out by Reverend and National Cultural Commission. And as you will notice from my talk, this is the work of people who are prosperity coastal regions. Such as the politicians and public servants played into the hands of these conniving pastors and preachers. Many of the politicians who voted to pass the amendments and the public servants who advised them were mere praise to the pastors and preachers. They had no learning in theology or scripture. Hardly you see some of them in the churches. We must not forget that the Constitution, the state institutions, the government, even the office of the Prime Minister, the office of the ministers, the national parliament, they all belong to the people of Papua New Guinea. Christians and non-Christians, Catholics and non-Catholics, and even Muslims who don't pay. He is our Prime Minister. They are our ministers. The office is our office. All public offices are people's office. Now, when you bring in religion and you bring a particular sect to go and dominate government, this is unconstitutional. That's unconstitutional. The office belongs to the people, all the people, irrespective. Such that even the divisive things in the Bible is unconstitutional. And the Christian state now, we call it the independent and Christian state of Papua New Guinea. That's the new name under the amendment. Do you agree with that? Independent state of Papua New Guinea. And I am submitting that all this that happened, and including now the Christian state, are all unconstitutional. It only takes somebody to go upon the person. The amendment is also against Article 18 of the United Nations Declaration of Human Rights on the freedom of conscience, thought, and religion, which PNG is a signatory and adopted it, and it's part of our domestic laws and is in our Constitution, Section 45. And yet, what's the message we're giving to our people and the Indonesian population? Now, I will end with what Jesus said to Pilate. When Jesus was before Pilate, when he was asked about the kingdom, he said, "My kingdom is not belonging to you." So if you are church and faith and religion, why do you want to mix with the world? The world coming. So, these are my thoughts. I wanted also give a bit how it transpired. The bishop and the monastery speakers and president as well as the commissioner. And
Mr. President, reiterated the Catholic Church's stand on advancing the constitutional amendment to declare Papua New Guinea a Christian country and state, and he fought on many reasons, but always wanted to the two reasons that the constitutional amendment is poorly written and has been harmonized together context of the Constitution. The new constitutional amendment is inspired by a predominantly Jewish rather than a Christian vision. They alter the nature of the state very popular. 1975 is the confessional and religious state. By this time, I would like to acknowledge the presence of Archbishop Anton, the Archbishop of Madan, Archbishop of Istakamai, the Archbishop of Yabal, Archbishop Francis Lamindra, the Bishop of Mobile, who are joining us via Zoom. We also have priests and a lot of lay people who are joining us at this time. We now proceed to the second speaker, who is the President of the County Bishops' Conference and the Bishop of Verona Valley, and he is Bishop Otto. Separy, and he will be speaking on the effect of declaring purity of Christian country and religious freedom and equality. Please give a hand for Bishop Otto Separy.
Thank you, Mr. Desi. Thank you, media personnel, and opportunity of listening today. I must start by saying, declaring being the Christian nation a sad day for Papua. Very sad day. Many Papuans don't realize, but we, the people, the countries of PNGSI on the island, we realize it's a serious thing. A very sad amendment of our constitution in PNG. So I'm going to highlight why it's wrong. Why it's wrong. I'm also glad to say that Catholic Church has been in the world for more than 2,000 years. We came a long way. We made our mistakes, we come, what kind of things happen, and we know our history. And we know that whatever is done in our country is totally wrong, because a lot of violence will take place. So, Papua New Guinea, I think maybe it's like we don't even know what's going on when our leaders are. Let me put in perspective. In the recent months, or recent weeks, we are talking about two important things. We hear people in the parliament debating gender-based violence and social-related violence. It's a very hot topic in our country because we all know it's wrong. Everybody knows it's wrong. The church knows it's wrong. And we debated, and there will be constitution made for that reason to minimize, to put out of this violence and social violence. There was a need, and people had to debate to try to make laws that will take up the issue. That's good. But when the amendment of the Materials of Christian Nations to address what is Papua New Guinea, amend the Constitution, gives a Christian nation to address what is the issue? And the politics made a law to be a Christian country to address what issue? Gender-based violence, yes, you address an issue. Social violence, yes, you address an issue. Are you the friends in all these things? We are an issue. What? The church, the Papua New Guinea Christian nation to address what issue? Papua New Guinea, do you understand? To address what issue? There's no issue. We address the Christian nation right from the beginning, since independence. There was no issue. You all know that. To address what issue in Papua New Guinea? So, we started this conference, the declaring of the Christian nation is a lot of impacts, the negative impacts that will be found. So I'm going to read down some of them. One, faith must not be a choice, faith must be a choice, not a law. But what their choice, it was not be a law to enforce people to follow Christianity. People are already Christianity. That's how we feel that it's wrong. Christianity teaches that faith is a personal decision, not something to be chosen by the state. The Bible emphasizes free will, where individuals must choose to follow God out of love, not compulsion. And maybe the Constitution, when Christianity contradicts this fundamental teaching, as faith loses their true meaning when mandated by the law. The police was behind you, the mobile was behind you, because they enforced the law. That's what we see it for. I mean, to continue to see it for because Christianity cannot be enforced by the state or by the law or by the power of the ground. That we know is going to be negative impact in our life. Second, there is no respect for religious freedom. Every one of us in our constitution talked about freedom of religion and conscience. When it's enforced by the law, Christianity Constitution protects freedom of thought, conscience, and religion in Section 45 of our Constitution. Declaring PNG a Christian state will undermine his right, creating an environment where people of other faiths or different Christian denominations feel excluded. What about people of Guinea? What about those who don't even believe in God? If there are Jews today, Christianity was not forced. Jesus said in the Bible, it's up to you. You want to follow me or you don't want to go. Christianity cannot be forced. That's how we see it. And maybe the Constitution to enforce Christianity will contradict the rights of freedom and religion. The principles of religion and freedom are rooted in Christian teaching. The Christian Christ himself welcomed all, never forced anyone to follow him. He said, if he said to his disciples, the apostles, if you are willing to go, the door is open, there was within 4 standards. We allow them the choice to make it. When the state comes in and forces people to be Christian, where is the freedom of religion? That's why we come to confess, we see that negative impact is so huge. It's going to no violence going on. Even if we don't see it now, but we see it later. That's our feeling. Maybe people are, they hear what's going on, but they become ignorant. But it's a very important amendment to make. It's going to affect all the population. That's why we certainly feel it's not a very great idea to stay in place of Christian religion. That's what I was raising. History warns against religious authoritarianism. History challenges the European model house in the 2000 classmates. We know our history. We make mistakes. We see all kinds of things on the way. So history warns us. It's telling us against religious authoritarianism. Authoritarianism is harm and forced to do, whether you like it or not. History shows that when government enforces state religion, it often leads to oppression, division, and all kinds of violence, even prostitution. From the medieval institutions to colonial religious conflict, the fusion of church and state reflecting the corruption and abuse of power. The early church tried because it was independent and political authority. Many must learn from history and ensure that religious remain a guiding moral force, not a political tool when most act to follow our religion. Let me also top my head because I studied PNGSI. Let me say, for example, Greek army. In the 13th century, there was a person coming up for the Roman Empire, Constantine. He legalized that the Roman colony must be Christianized. Catholicism came up. And it led to French Revolution. Those of people know history, go to study history. I wonder how things then on the take history or not. That led to more people were killed, people destroyed. Thousands of people were killed because of this revolution in France. We know our history, and we don't want to repeat again in Papua New Guinea. So, when our opposition made mistakes, we did a mistake in England, a lot of things are going to happen. Authoritarian will come, overpower will come. Then a lot of people are going to die. That's why I said, we capitalists with more than 1,000 years ago, we know our history. So we are against it. The next point, unity in diversity. Unity in diversity means Papua New Guineans from all tribes, all corners of the country, region, we unite as one nation, one people, one country. When this happens, there is no unity. There is no unity in diversity. So unity means we come from different backgrounds, different religions, different region in our country. We come and unite as one community, one people, one country. Just wait and see. And this is enforced by the state. That's why we are here. Unity diversity. Here is called the various Christian denominations and religious minorities. If Christianity is declared a state religion, which church is representing the nation? Which church represents the nation? People who may claim legitimacy within the religious conflict instead of unity. There will be coming instrument in our country. That means church is just one because we don't support this. It's going to be more violence in our country. So we see down the line because of our history. There will be all kinds of things happening. The current constitutional framework allows for peaceful coexistence and mutual respect, ensuring that all citizens are treated equally under the law. But when we enforce this law and become popular Christian nation, we know of all kinds of religious principles. Really, listen, it's going to happen. If we don't see it now, it's going to happen. Next point. True Christian leadership affords justice for all. True Christian leadership affords justice for all. That includes church leadership and political leadership. We all stand up to afford justice for all. Every Papua New Guinean must live in peace and joy and happiness. Justice for all. Christianity calls for love, justice, and fairness. Including for marginalizing others based on religious contradictions and mediation of Christ teaching, our role as Christian leaders is to promote a society where faith is freely practiced and exercised, and respected by all. The best way to honor God is not by enforcing religion or law, but by living our Christian values and principles in our daily life. We do it freely. We are not enforced by the law. So, how can we do it? Sit down and think what the law is going to bring to us. We know that it's going to affect the law, of course, negative effects will take place. As a Christian nation in spirit, we are not about religious freedom and equality for all. Rather than amend the Constitution to support Christianity, we should focus on strengthening moral and ethical values in our community. True Christian leadership ensures that all people, regardless of their faith, and treated with dignity, respect, and love. Before I end, I am not really, I don't want to say that, but I have to say. The founding fathers of our nation, like Madam Kumar, like Madam Kumar, and recently we said goodbye to the previous camp. Because the nice things about these two leaders, we all those two leaders. But those leaders who are big on the constitution, and they are big on the constitution, they are big. And it has to be there. Why amend the constitution? There's no reason for it. There's no reason for it. And when we do that, for the families we are listening, we do not respect the family father family. We say what you've done is not acceptable. So we don't respect those who want to produce for our country. If what we call a man with good conscience, I would be ashamed how to guilty if I have against the thing that somebody did for me. And he's now gone and going away. Now, in open again, let's forget your point. If somebody has done something and said something, or if something, when he dies, are you going to come and amend what he has done? Take what he has done? No. You will say, no, I don't. I will not touch it. If our politicians would say, no, we cannot touch this. It was done by people going before us. We have no right to condemn it. So, think about this. Now, I was going to say, I want to repeat almost what Paul Harricken said. These politicians remember more. But when they come to work, they must work with conscience, not by numerical strength. As the political department says, when you vote in parliament, you must work with your conscience, not because of moral, not with the numerical strength. Because moral conscience will tell you, I vote yes, I vote no. I wonder, how many of the politicians are effective? How many of our politicians are in Europe and scripture? The Bible is scripture. How many of them are in biblical history? How the Bible was formed, how it was written, the whole idea, whole sequence of how Bible can be. Bible is a collection of older books written by different people. So I wonder, our politicians are paying on like university, into a seminary, into a school where they are difficult knowledge. That's unique. And I think they better pass out. Because I want to say, how many million? Maybe you don't realize the impact can happen, negative impact can happen. We must start to think. Because what they have made the law now can be enforced by the law. That is, police is going to come out. Now, to be a religious person, you don't need a police to come out. It's not your law. When we have to slow down amendment, it is possible. You know? Because we have people who don't do it. It's okay. It's okay. They don't do it. It's okay. We don't force them to do it. We don't force them to be a Christian. You know, everything we said, if the law comes to tell us to be a Christian. I hope Papa you can understand what I'm talking. What did you say? And last point I want to make. Parliament is not a president, it is a post. It's not a church. It's not a shrine. It's not a cathedral. It's not a church where people go and pray and pray and very important. No. It's a place where our elected parliamentarians come and then put our constructive debates on issues of culture in our country, and then they grow. Parliament should not be turned into a shrine, a place of worship. When we put Bible in there, it's going to be like a place of worship. So when you want to look and pray, you go and you start praying, you go and come up and down and praise God. It's not for that purpose. Parliament is not a place of worship. It's a place of worship to the debate or a place of concern, and then they grow from our country. And before they make a law, they must have moral conscience. Moral conscience. Right and wrong. And this issue of just becoming a Christian nation, I will conclude by saying that it is not necessary. It's already a Christian country. Why amending? I don't know, maybe some of you maybe know. Enough is a Bible inside a country. That means Bible is now a place of worship. So, my dear Papua New Guineans, out there listening, Parliament is not a church, not a place of worship. So we have the Bible in there. And I want to repeat what Paul has said. That Bible in there is not a holy Bible. That's a false scripture. That's why I said you must study biblical history. Then you know where the Bible started. Biblical history. You know where the Bible started. This one is just before you. You know what? So I want to say that it's a sad day for community when our partners make this not normally called a unity of Christian. It is not necessary. And I'm proud to say that with the Catholic Conference of forces, we are not afraid to say it. We don't agree with that when we did a city. Imagine communities out there listening. I would say a sad day for community. And it's going to be a lot of problems and attention in our society. We are not going to. Thank you.
I think we need to support what our students is call for the amendment to the supplementary legislation to declare the nation a Christian country, which raises serious concerns about religious freedom and equality. The state leaders to recognize and uphold the Christian values that will shape our nation, but we also attend the history that true Christianity embraces freedom, respect, and love for all people, regardless of their beliefs. Before we go on to the state speaker for the Reverend Arockiaraj, the General Secretary of the Post-Conference for Papua New Guinea and Solomon Islands, we would like also to acknowledge the presence of the Bishop of Guinea, Most Reverend Bishop General Bishop, who is just joined us via Zoom. So we have a very good following on Zoom, most of our listeners and also other people of different denominations or following after the people of great content. Without further delay, I would like to call upon the first speaker, Father Lawrence Arockiaraj, the General Secretary of the Catholic Conference for Papua New Guinea and Solomon Islands, and he will be speaking on civil society point of view, social unity, and youth. Please make your comments, speaker.
Thank you, Mr. Benji. Thank you all for being here. And so, I think the party of the president of the conference, the parliament.
Once again, I think Mr. Paul Harricken covered the history, what they went through in the process of, and then in the process of amending the constitution. So Mr. Paul Harricken, what are the things there that we think is not in favor of this money. My first thing, I sincerely I would like to thank the forefathers, the founding fathers. 50 years ago, we are actually going to celebrate now. 50 years ago, they already had a broad mindset, vision, to say that they respect everyone. They should have done this 50 years ago. So they had a better mindset. Now, with all these Christian values living every day for 50 years, it should be much better to embrace everyone. Instead of we are thinking inclusive. Okay, now they say
The government says, okay, it's a Christian country, but we will respect. But when you make Christian country, already you are making inclusion. So you are saying you are outside. My question is, first of all, we have a lot of issues in the country now, especially violence. When it comes to education, health, the rural health is not really, the system is failing to support the people in the remote area. We have so many other issues which should be a concern of the leaders of the state. So we have a government, we have a church. Government, you have a mandate to go to look after the welfare of people. The church will take care of the faith and morality. So it's like we are big clashing. So they have mandatory and we have one to play. I think we need to respect each other. I'm not saying no, but you have a better role to play. So what should be more of the livelihood of the people, how they are living, the security issue, the increase of the food prices and healthcare, education. We have classrooms without classrooms without class. The students are staying outside the community. So these are the important things the government should focus on. Then I really think starting that thing, they're going taking too much time and the money. The third issue for me, when you say government and the church, and we are complementary, you do your work and we do our work. So we should be complementary. If you take each other's part, I think it's not fair. So I am worried about the unity of the people of Papua. We are living Christians, right? We don't have any problem. Was there any problem that we need to amend? If we are living faithfully, now I'm worried after 50 years, how our life will be. Maybe we are saying, okay, Christian country, okay, Christian country. So this denomination is stop, this denomination is down below, so we are taking education again. I'm worried that about the unity of the nation. We have a great nation, we have one culture, so much language, we need to respect. So when you make it a boundary, then there are people like that. So I would like to enter my words. I have a list, but I think that after covered, all I should cover. I think that the third is the government should do very, very good. Thank you.
Thank you for the moment. For the Lord, emphasize the Christianity for education and benefit concept. And a legal declaration is unnecessary. And certain religious constitutional amendments will be no problem to enter. Instead, the nation should focus on meeting our Christian values towards the land, justice and respect. A united PNG will bring to all people with knowledge and conduct in a divided land. And the city of Magai and stated that without the people, Islam and Christian, that is moral sense and faith will also serve the people. Mr. Paul Harricken, Bishop of the Separy and Brother Lawrence, have given their thoughts on the church's stand on the constitutional amendment. They will openly Christian movement. And so now with the media, it's where I stop. You know,
Hi, my name is Michael. And first of all, thank you for panel, Harricken, the Otto, and the PNGSI. During study that picks out the type of these amendment. We Papua New Guineans, ordinary Papua New Guineans, moms and dads, kids, the question we should be asking, and all of us here, we should be asking, with this amendment in place now,
how much more Christian will we be? How much more? Because it's not going to take place. I mean, the perpetrators of this amendment, which is the law, the members of parliament, they are the perpetrators of corruption. They are the perpetrators of corruption. And we know from the Bible that when Jesus entered the temple, he chased out the money changers, those people who are making business in God's house. And that's what they're doing in Parliament. They're making deals in Parliament with the Bible right there. That's a curse. That's a curse right there. Please, a Sunday for reference, a Sunday for communion. And with this, it is also a Sunday because we dishonor our founding father. So Michael is Christian, for many of our founding fathers fought for a homegrown constitution. They will be turning in their graves right now, one and begging the question, why are our people that we fought so hard for tampering with the Constitution? They toured the nation for over 3 years. The last lot only toured a few cities for 6 weeks, and they said 80% of our people agreed to the vote of the amendment. They lied. They lied. I'll stop here. I'm very sad. I'm sad because I was in 1972. The Constitutional Planning Committee toured my village at Papua. And Mama Bloody and what we might hear from Samaka was not there, but John Morris, Bernard Arockiaraj, Paul Harricken, and those guys came there. And they spoke to us, and the moms and dads rose up and said, we want something that will protect our integrity. Nice suffering. We lost. Because it's lost in Parliament. Honestly, I mean, we have to blame somebody, and we blame the members in Parliament. Yeah. That's right. Thank you.
Everyone, let me compose how far is
with respect to charity, none of you can clean up amongst mess. They create the mess, they can clean up. We have state institutions, the Working Commission, and we have the Public Prosecutor, State Police. These are state institutions. What are people? They're the ones who start boxing and ropes and questions that are now raising, they're the ones to talk. The judge is not here to clean up people's mess. In chocolate.
you asked them to respond. No current influence is never trading on that. And it has state to state thing. So it's not engagement from anyone. So I cannot answer your question because it's the state is not ready what is the rule. They tell me maybe validation, whatever, the board cannot say anything on this. So at the moment, it's nothing for.
And also realize that in Papua New Guinea, the church in Papua New Guinea, no church in Papua New Guinea is under the authority of this church. So when we say all those things, it's things. So it's not going to be different from all. You don't have to be different. It's not interesting.
When I began in the Catholic program, I think on Catholic faith. Only the book is not exactly. The book is very really topic. I don't know what is talking about. The amendments and between the state and the country to make the other region part of the country. Well, legally speaking, it could be legally speaking. When that law is enforced, no Christians, I don't know what they see Christians do. So there are people who don't believe in it already. There are people who are maybe atheists or people who. So that's what I'm just the impact of the constitution. The American constitution, I like some. So it speaks. When we allow that to happen, just what will happen. I will highlight some negative impacts of this amendment to the constitution.
Maybe I will end commenting. It can, in the long run, lead to a minority or second class. So if we go to the extremes, just imagine the extremes, fundamentalism, extreme, and it's run by a particular sect in government, and they run the government, they manage the government. All positions from the police commissioner, the defense force commander, the secretaries of departments will be all taken up by those ones. That's what it means. And they can do that. But for minority religious groups like the Baha'is, they become minorities. They don't have much say. As it is now, they can practice their religion as they want. But there will be restrictions as we go on in the government of the day. Now, the risk we're talking about is there is a law. Under this government, maybe they will say something else. Maybe under the next government, you might have a dictator. You might have somebody else that plays, use the law against his own people, use the law against the minorities, and make, like in England, who can become a king? Who can become a king and be the head of state? It's the king. And in the Islam nation, all top positions are taken up by the Islamists. So it is, we may not come immediately to that kind of state, but the law is there. It can be the ground for such a practice.
Can I ask you this report? You are silent. I read somewhere on here. Find out what region are the politicians in. What is one find? I know which region they are. What region are they? Are they Catholic? Are they Reverend? Are they STS? I want you to go and do your side. And even though where we are heading, I want to tell you, I want you to find out from the reporting, all these ministers and prime ministers going down, which region are they belonging to? And know it, you're going to find out this. That's the kind of thing we are talking. Like now, Paul Harricken is saying, it's going to be rooted in our society, and you know what will happen. So in first assignment, we'll find out which region our ministers and prime ministers are leading. So you can imagine what's going to happen down there. That's why we just are saying something for the good of the people. You understand what I'm saying? You are silent. Next time I'm going to ask. Every time you are silent.
Claudia Professor. Thank you for the African confidence. Maybe the next time I'll do different questions. I have two questions. The first one is, do you think the amendment of the confession state will trigger more changes in the constitution going forward? Basically tries to align with the executive system principles of the October. That's my first question. My second question is, how do you see this change the amendment from previous formulation, especially the one that has been first on 2018, and implementing and being non-publicly to the kitchen or religion or something? How do you think that will affect formulation? Thank you.
It's a good question. What happens? But we know that PNG is already on the international plan. Because this, I was going through the process that this law came to. We had the PNG Bible, a new covenant, a new covenant, PNG Bible, and then we had the declaration of termination of independent state. And then in October 2023, we had the PNG government opening the embassy in Jerusalem. So if you talk about policies, we have already taken sides. We are already siding with Israel. And not Palestinians. We have always influenced them. On that issue itself, PNG was always not taking a neutral step. But things will happen. To become a Christian state, we can only I can speak for. But we are already making ourselves a Christian state.
Unless someone wanted to speak up. Yes, I think we can and now about this law because it will make PNG government appear as a hypocrite in the eyes of the world. Why I'm saying this? Every day when you see on the television, you see the stories about Palestine and people dying. Now, we ordinary Papua New Guineans cannot do much. All we can do is sympathize. Demand that our country, the government, which has just declared that we are a Christian nation, do the right thing and hold at the United Nations level when it comes to this question. At that level, I get really annoyed. In fact, one top newspaper has been running stories about that. When we take the issue of Palestine, that's just an example. We run stories on the front page of the paper, but nothing. People, anyway, nobody reads content. Those decision makers. I'm beginning to believe that they don't bother what the ordinary people think about international things happening at the international level. So my question is this: I hope the church, and more especially the people of Papua New Guinea, hold the government accountable. But about at the United Nations level, PNG must show that it is a Christian nation by doing the conscience vote. But then yes, that's all. Follow the warmongers at that level. We declare that we are a Christian nation in the right thing and one point. The next point comes back to this thing about
friends more than enemies to me. Now, I don't know what is in our foreign policy paper that is now before Parliament. But if we have declared that we are a Christian country, then it would be good to make sure that whatever foreign policy that we follow, keep that principle in the back of our minds when the members of Parliament vote about it. Thank you.
Any more questions or comments?
Thank you, Sister Daisy. Thank you, Mr. Harricken, Bishop Otto, Father Lewis, and the people, my Lord, and my family. This is something that is personal, and personal experience that I had in the Parliament House. When the lawyer who drafted the law, the Constitution, was lying in state in the Parliament. After the members paid their respect, my husband said, "You pray." So I prayed towards me and I said, "Thank you, God the Father, for the gift of his life, that he was the author of our Constitution." And as soon as I finished my prayers, said the sign of the cross, these words just went into my mind, into my head. Very strong. I am the author of the Constitution. He was my instrument. So I believe Papua New Guinea came about by the power of God only. And he is the author of the Constitution. President Arockiaraj was his instrument. So if we are meddling around with the Constitution, we are saying we are a Christian nation, and we are not meddling around with the Constitution. We are not respecting God Almighty, who put this nation together. So I want to challenge the parliamentarians. Do they really know what they are doing? Do they really? Do they have faith in God Almighty? So it's like we have a house, we have post, and we start chopping the post. And then soon the post will break and then the house will fall down. That's what we are. What's that? That's what they are doing in the parliament. Slowly chipping the post this nation. So God bless Papua New Guinea. God is still our family, and He is the author of our Constitution. And whoever is meddling around with the Constitution, you better watch out. So thank you.
Thank you. Today, we thank the panel, Ms. Harricken, Bishop Otto, and Father Lewis. I speak as a citizen of Papua New Guinea. One commenting for addressing this issue and speaking the truth. Firstly, follow our team here, leading people from the darkness to light. And that's basically what we want to do.
what has been done today is that our nation, as you rightly said, is a very sad stage, dimension, and scenario. We spoke for the voices. We spoke for the blind. We spoke for the blind who cannot speak. The illiterates who cannot read and understand. That's what the Holy Spirit is not calling us to say. The world is listening. Our nation is listening. Parliament are listening for the sake of everyone. And that's the message for us today. We can't be silent. We must speak. We must rise up. We must speak the right words, the truth, the righteousness must be there. So I want to speak on behalf of them. We thank you. Things we can't allow this to go on. And for you as the head of the church, seeing what's ahead of us, it's a good indicator for us now, the people. As we can stop what is going to happen for our nation, for our young generation, for the young people. And that's basically the message for you. That message should be loud and clear. Even one thing that I want to be especially is that even the evil, the Satan, can ask those who are Christians. Yes, we can. People speak that language so we can get it right. But the commandment of Jesus is clear, love. That it should be the casting, that should concern, that should be the one that should be, particles of humanity. And that's really I just want to put into and make the point so that we get this better. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And there's a question from one of our audience via Zoom, and this is directly towards our two Bishop Otto Separy. Okay, this is from a priest from the Diocese of Guinea, Father Arockiaraj, to systematically and constructively counteract this negative effect before it affects many kingdoms and families.
Well, one thing is, you must rise up. I told you everybody needs to know what's going on. You know what's going on. And maybe we are almost like ignorant, or maybe indifferent, like who cares? But it's going to care, it's going to be easy for us. So, my question is, is listening, it's a challenge for us, Catholic. Maybe just sometimes we have to do something, but in a different way, not in a legal way, because we are not legal experts. We cannot pretend to be legal experts. But we are like Paul Harricken, we speak on our behalf. Maybe take the matter to certain level of maybe the context of the law. But we discuss politics, we do it in a different way, and it's something we can and more. Some of this I said already, of course, things will take place, but we have to think ahead and do prepare something that we can address the issue in a positive way. But in a legal way, what I do will get it up in a different forum. It means for us to go and express to the politicians, we are going to do it.
Thank you, Bishop Otto, for answering the question for the Arockiaraj from the Diocese of Guinea. Mr. Paul Harricken will also add on to what Bishop Otto said. Thank you.
I think, I hope you are still there, you see. I think what the church does now is we are starting to speak out. We have, and now the law is passed, we are speaking out. We're saying that the parliament, the MPs, they about this. Yes. And that we speak out, and that means Arockiaraj must talk. Because minus 2 must talk. Calculate was 2 o'clock. Wrong. We all have to speak out because they are taking advantage of our silence. Yes. When there's no voice, everything will say what they're doing is correct. So they go on and do it. Because the crux of our conversation is about democracy and freedom. Democracy and freedom is already now been chipped away. It's chipped away. They will make legislation. There was a question about any other amendments or any other laws. They will make other laws, and other laws are coming into existence. You heard about the Separy law? Yes. Now you can see you should stay. They will take settle them on you. And do you know about the terrorism act? Yes. Now you remember we have read a case in Lane. A magistrate in Lane is dealing with 2 women who mobilized under somebody of his other laws in our country. They decided to apply terrorism act. Now, because when they debated in the House, they said terrorism act is for bigger problems. Now, ordinary problems can apply terrorism act. So, you can already see our democracy problem. We have to problem. Yes. We have to fight meaning we have to focus. The politicians have to force the politicians to retain. Because this law, even this amendment to the Constitution, is against constitutional right to freedom of conscience, not a religion. As Richard is saying, have you people opening up prison? Huh? Some of you know about now we hear that this was wrong. I don't know. Because of the cases, it is the authority that decides on best. I let you our democracy.
We have a Catholic group called Bishop and White Institution. The comment. Thank you, panel and team. We need to continue to advocate for good governance. We also need support. We also need to support good Catholic laity and taking up political career like the founding fathers of Catholic faith. And we have a question to Mr. Harricken. What is the process in getting this amendment revoked? This is from Caritas PNG. They are also joining us by Zoom. Yes, from Mr. Harricken.
Anyway, we have to keep talking. Huh? Keep talking wherever you are. Just have to keep talking. Yes, the current government, there's something I can say here. When they came into office in 2019, they came up with their economic platform of making PNG the richest black Christian nation on the planet. I'm looking at the word. PNG will become the richest Christian black nation on the planet Earth. And they gave themselves 10 years to make that happen. When does 10 years? 2019. 2029. From 2019 to 2029, it has already become the richest black nation on the planet. So that is the motivating factor for them to follow the Pentecostals and the evangelicals. To make them think that you only have to do this. Amend the Constitution, open the embassy in Jerusalem. And what else you do for you to become rich? To become rich is self-regulation. So PNG is in a kind of our leadership is a kind of crisis, identity crisis. We're in some kind of identity crisis. We're searching because we have the Asians here, we have the Europeans here, and we have who else? This is fast becoming an ethnic, multi-ethnic society. We're fast becoming a multi-ethnic society. So for us, we're becoming more confused. We look at all we're not misled in our haste to become rich, in our haste to find the money. I hope we don't make the mistake of eroding our values and principles, democracy and freedom.
Okay. Only one person for the last question. If not, we will finish. I have one.
Thank you, Sister Daisy. Can I acknowledge the bishops that were tuning in? Archbishop Rocos, Bishop of Penny, and Bishop Penny. I hope you're watching. And of course, I acknowledge our bishop here that's always here with us, the president of the Catholic bishops of Papua New Guinea and Solomon Islands. And I acknowledge our president of CPS, and I acknowledge Father Day, and all our other listeners outside who are tuned in today. I have been a couscous during the development of our constitution. You can just for me watching. Our constitution was done so that it would allow freedom for everybody, not just the Christian church. I am Christian, I am Christian Catholic. And I don't deny the fact. But that was done to encourage every faith to participate. Not to leave some people out and bring some people in. That is not Papua New Guinea. And when our constitution was started, that was to encourage all faiths, not just one faith or some sects. Therefore, we did not call Papua New Guinea the independent Christian state of Papua New Guinea. We called it the independent state of Papua New Guinea. Our preamble does prescribe what we need in this country. We are tired of people who have just come in, born yesterday, tampering with what the ancestors had done and put in place for the freedom of our nation. For the freedom of our nation. All of them know so much. They are PhD graduates, they are professors, but they are not reading what they are reading into this. It allows all faiths to be part of this, including those who don't believe in Christianity. Because the Catholic faith allows everybody to be represented, whether you are Catholic or not, and allow you to choose. So, you bring the Bible and you put it in the parliament, and you find that you put King James Bible, and you expect all the Christian faiths to worship that Bible. We are all different. Our Bible is 2,000 years old. We don't need King James Bible, they are 400 years old. That's again a U.S. sector. They're sectors. It's time to start telling our people sectors and different faiths and understand what we are talking about. But we are accepting you as all Christian people. We want you to respect us back and consult with us, not just yourself. And what you think is right for all of us and our families and our children and our culture. This, from our constitution, was founded to also respect our cultures. Each of us have different cultures, 800 different cultures. We don't want to be brought into one culture. We all have our own culture, and we respect those as well. What we are asking right now is respect. Just mentioned our freedoms have been eaten slowly without anybody noticing. I'm surprised the press hasn't blown this up. The Terrorism Act. Terrorism Act is supposed to fight bombs on the street. People attacking. They're now attacking little people who comment against them. Because terrorism has never meant to be in any part of the world been taken against individuals who speak out against government cause. Why? Why is the press so slow? We need the foreign press agency years old to cut 50,000 elders. Or they'll deprive them from coming in. But they stop us from the Facebook. Huh? We all tapped into all the other Facebooks outside. I got Facebook. I just teach all the French people who don't know how to get into Facebook to get into Singapore and Korea and you have Facebook. And they put Facebook on one public and it's blocking all its Facebook and all the sellers have no Facebook. That's their business. The same as Muslim here. We go out because that's democracy. I stand here because I am so frightened of my grandchildren having to come into a country that's not democratic.
Absolutely.
While I am a Catholic and I sit here as a member of Catholic professional, I don't expect everybody else to be Catholic, but I expect you to have freedom of choice. I don't expect you to go into a parliament and everybody call Christians, but even 2 or 3 wives sitting there. If you call yourself Christian, you have 1 wife and 1 husband. That's the thing.
Exactly.
If you want to be Christian, live like a Christian. No bullshit, no call it Christian, no parliament, you black man, and then something else outside. Missionary bilang begini, satu tempat tadi road election, di last minute. Missionary bilang, di last minute road election, talk all the time. Now you know, pressure, I think something with you, friend. All the president, all those Solomons, and all those other people, they didn't tell what that government said. They put it on the paper. You know, you said, hey! We like Tommy. We lesbian. God, if we stand up here, we don't care. We want to go to we don't care. We like die, you can't drink from me. We lesbian, please not take it. Thank you.
This together, and I think that's a very beautiful way of ending this one of our first conference. And so, in summary, in rejecting the proposed constitutional amendment, the Catholic Church recognizes the need to reflect on social cohesion and national identity in a time of dramatic changes and uncertainty over the future. At the same time, we believe that the solution does not lie in the rejection of our tradition, the transformation into a confessional state, the promotion of religious fundamentalism, Christian nationalism, or an ideology of that sort. Instead, what is needed is a laborious process of education and discernment in national harmony and unity of what is best from the cultures of our ancestors, the Christian values introduced by the missionaries, and the positivity that the modern world can offer. If this is done, it will be possible to build a robust social, cultural, and spiritual profile of the Papua New Guinean of the 10th millennium, a person who acts out of freedom and personal responsibility, not within the dictates of a predetermined ideological frame. Any other way is deceptive and cultic, eventually futile. And then that brings us to the end of this wonderful press conference. Before we say the closing prayer, I would like to say thank you to our faith speaker, Mr. Otto, the President of the Senate Business Conference for Papua and Solomon Islands, Reverend Arockiaraj, the General Secretary of the Business Conference for Papua and Solomon Islands, Mr. Paul Harricken, the President of the Catholic Professional Society. With this note, I would also like to say thank you to our wonderful leadership from NCC, the wonderful newspaper, Post-Courier, Radio Maria, Department of Information, Communication Technology, TV1, as well as the Professional Society who are together here, our Executive Conference, and everyone who is joined us for this first conference. Let us open our hands. And I apologize if I use some media to go to our question. Thank you very much for the question. And with that, we come to the end and we will go on for our final prayer.